Alright, so welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we are talking about Mason Mount and his current situation at Chelsea Football Club at this moment in time, because I think Mason Mount is a player that's on the lips of a lot of football fans right now, especially Chelsea fans of course, given the fact he plays for us, which is kind of rich to be fair, because he hasn't been in the team recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but even still his name seems to be prominent every single day on Chelsea Twitter and social media in general with Chelsea fans. And yeah, in today's video we're going to be talking about Mason Mount, his current situation, obviously the whole thing with the contract situation right now, his obviously lack of form right now in the Premier League, and yeah, I guess we'll just get straight into it. So yeah, let's go. So obviously Mason Mount is a 24-year-old midfielder currently going through, a lot in life at this moment in time, I think it's fair to say. Obviously it's evident to see that he's currently enduring probably his weakest run of form in his football career so far. He's obviously dropped off massively in his performances for Chelsea this season, coincided as well with the fact that Chelsea have also been extremely poor this season, under Graham Potter and at the back end of Thomas Tuchel's era at the start of the season as well. And yeah, he's a man of course who is undergoing a contract situation right now as well, which cannot be, positive for his mindset whatsoever as well, given the fact that he's been at Chelsea literally his whole life, and this summer he may have to decide whether to leave the club or to stay on with the club because his contract does expire in 2024. And there seems to be a little bit of, stress regarding that contract situation and a little bit of difficulty as to whether he's going to sign the contract or not. But before we get into my actual opinions on Mason Mount as a player and, whether I think he's being scapegoated by Chelsea fans or not, and whether I think he should sign the contract or not, I'm going to showcase a few stats here that I think will kind of indicate how poor Mason Mount has been this season in comparison to previous seasons in the Chelsea shirt, where he has won, of course, back-to-back Player of the Year awards in the last 2 years for us, even though I think last year was a little bit harsh on Thiago Silva or Antonio Rudiger for winning it, to be fair, but that's not to say that Mount had a bad season whatsoever last year, to be fair to him. And obviously he has been a very good player over the years for Chelsea since he came into the fold under Frank Lampard's first season in 2019-20, and that's my personal opinion. I know a lot of Chelsea fans, won't agree with that, and fans in general, to be fair. But yeah, it's clear to see that he's dropped off this season, and as you can see on your screen right now, there's just a few stats that, indicate how much he has dropped off this season. First of all, his pass completion ratio, 75.2% this season to 81.5% he was managing in the 2020-2021 campaign. That's the season I've compared his stats to this season, because I think that campaign was probably his best season in Chelsea shirt. Obviously was influential in the Champions League run and in the Premier League as well. Progressive carries per 90, 2.6 he's averaging this season compared to 2 years ago, 4.08, so obviously a massive drop off there. He's being dispossessed more this season, 1.44 dispossessions per 90 compared to 1.28 2 years ago. He's also miscontrolling the ball more per 90 as well, 2.10 this season to 1.74 2 years ago. Shot creating actions, this is a big one now, 5.26 in the 2020-2021 campaign. This season, 3.09. I mean, that's just a massive drop off. I mean, you're talking about more than 2 shot creating actions per 90 that he's, averaging less this season compared to 2 years ago, which is absolutely, mad really. And this one for me is the main one, the damning one in this stats list. Take-ons attempted, 2.52 2 years ago compared to 1.77 now, and to be honest, I think that could, indicate and highlight a little bit of a confidence issue with Mason Mount, because of course, as is self-explanatory by the stats, he's taking on less players and attempting less take-ons, of course, anywhere around the pitch as well. So that could be down to, a lack of confidence maybe, and from the take-ons as well, to stay on that point as well. Shot creating actions performed from take-ons, 0.34 2 years ago to 0.11 now, which is obviously minus 0.23 difference. And for a player like Mason Mount, who in terms of his play style, he's obviously very capable at carrying the ball forward and driving from midfield, and obviously there's that Mason Mount half turn that I like to call it, because I think that is kind of his trademark move at this stage. And I think on the half turn, I think there's not many players, if any, better in world football on the half turn than Mason Mount in his prime. And with this, of course, he's able to create chances. He contributes to a lot of goals over the years for Chelsea, a lot of assists, maybe not as much as he should do maybe, but at the same time as well, he's absolutely elite for his off the ball work. He's got an abundance of energy. He offers you that eliteness in terms of his pressing ability, which obviously is massive in a lot of systems in world football now. And yeah, I just think Mason Mount is a really, really good footballer, and I think he's just having a torrid season this season. And to be fair, I just think it's really stupid and really harsh of Chelsea fans to be completely writing this guy off after this season. And don't get me wrong, I just want to say, quick disclaimer, I've not been Mason Mount's biggest fan by any stretch of imagination this season. There's even been times where he's been playing and I've seen him on the team sheet or come off the bench and I've been like, oh god, here we go, because he's just been so poor this season. And look, even if you're not a stats head like I've just shown there, I mean, even the eye test will, show clearly that Mason Mount has dropped off massively in his performance levels this season. You don't need the stats to prove that. I've just kind of given them as an indication to prove how poor he has been this season in comparison to what I think his best year in a Chelsea shirt was. And I'm not saying he's the finished article by any stretch of imagination. I think that there's a lot Mason Mount could improve on overall in his game, even when he was, the best player for Chelsea or one of the best players for Chelsea over the last few years. But the manager's suppose every manager that comes into Chelsea Football Club and England with Gareth Southgate, they absolutely love Mason Mount because of his abilities on the ball and carrying the ball forward, and of course, even probably more important in his position, his pressing ability, which is absolutely unbelievable for modern day football. And that's why he's a manager's dream, because all managers really want is a player who's very good technically, but also is able to, work his socks off the ball, and that's exactly what Mason Mount gives you when he's on his day. Hey there, why are you not subscribed, huh? Unless you are, in which case, just ignore this message. According to the stats, nearly 80% of you aren't subscribed to this channel. What the f***'s that about, huh? Subscribe! And leave a like while you're at it as well. Cheers. Love ya. And yeah, like I was saying anyway, like I alluded to, a few seconds ago in the video, I think it's absolutely scandalous that fans that never really liked Mason Mount in the first place, because let's not get it twisted here. Mason Mount is a player who's really divided the opinion of Chelsea fans ever since he came into the team in 2019. There's a lot of fans that love him, there's a lot of fans that hate him. I would say it's kind of the match-going fans that love him, and the Twitter fans, I'd like to call them, that hate Mason Mount, to be fair. And it's sad to see, really, because I purely believe one of the main reasons why Mason Mount is getting so much stick this season is purely because of the fans that never liked him in the first place, using it as an excuse to, scapegoat him really and just give him all the abuse in the world and be like, oh yeah, I told you he's shit and all that, because in my personal opinion, I don't think that's what a fan should be doing. I think a fan should be backing his players to the hills. Look, one thing I'll say is you're allowed to say a player is not good for Chelsea. I have my players that I think are not good enough for Chelsea necessarily, but I can hand on heart say categorically there is not one player that ever will play for my football club that I will not back to the absolute hills, and I will love to be proven wrong and, to see them do really well in the Chelsea shirt, because that's personally for me what I think a fan should be doing as a fan. And I just think he's being scapegoated massively this season, Mason Mount, because yes, I know he's having a very poor season. Again, I'll be the first one to admit that, but I can't even count on 5 fingers on one hand how many players have excelled in this Chelsea team this season. I mean, Thiago Silva's one of them. I would say Kepa's been quite good this season. Reece James always, puts in a shift for us and always probably is one of our best players. And maybe I can't think off the top of my head, there's been probably 1 or 2 more. I'm not counting the new signings, because even though Enzo's been good since he's come in, Badiashile's been good since he's come in, obviously they've only been here for 5 minutes really. So I think to scapegoat it on one man, Mason Mount, who, even still in games where we've lost and he's not played, I think it just shows that he's not the main issue. But every single time we lose a game, when he even steps foot on the pitch for 15 minutes, he seems to be the main one that gets the brunt of the blame, which I just think is absolutely scandalous, to be fair, especially for a man who, is a Chelsea boy. He's one of us, and I think with Chelsea fans, one thing that really they should think of is the fact that he's living our dream. He's one of us, he's a Chelsea fan like us, who just got lucky with his ability and just happens to be able to be in the position that we all dreamt of being in since the age of 3 or 4 really. So I just think it's absolutely scandalous that he's hated by such a portion of the Chelsea fan base. And look, in terms of his contract situation, obviously it's not a straightforward one by any stretch of imagination. It's looking more and more likely that he might leave in the summer, which obviously I don't want to happen. I think that it would be just so awkward more than anything to see Mason Mount wearing the colours of another Premier League club, especially whether it be Liverpool, Man City or Man United, which are the 3 main clubs he's been linked with so far. Just a quick point as well, I think he'd be absolutely brilliant in that Liverpool system for Jurgen Klopp, because I think in terms of the profile of player Mason Mount is, I think he perfectly suits the profile of centre midfielder in this Liverpool team, in that left centre midfield position, just in terms of the fact that obviously, as I said, off the ball his pressing ability is absolutely world class, which is exactly what Jurgen Klopp would want in this system. He has the ability to obviously cover for Andy Robertson down that left hand side, which is what the left centre midfield position role has to do in Jurgen Klopp's system. And not only that as well, he will offer you a little bit more threat going forward than the likes of, say, Naby Keita, James Milner, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Harvey Elliott, etc. And I think one thing that would really suit Mason Mount in that Liverpool system is just the fact that there be not as much emphasis and pressure on him to just grind out goals and grind out assists, because of course that's what Gakpo's going to be doing, Núñez, Luis Diaz when he comes back, Mohamed Salah, and then even still Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who contribute or are supposed to contribute to more goals than the central midfielders. So I think there'd be a lot less pressure on Mason Mount in this Liverpool team compared to the obviously mass pressure he gets as a Chelsea player week in, week out. So I think it would really suit Mason Mount long term. But yeah, like I said, personally I hope he doesn't leave the club. He's still one of my favourite players, Mason Mount. I absolutely love the guy, and I would be absolutely thrilled to see him just stick 2 fingers up at the Chelsea fan base that have been harassing him for years now, to be honest, and just get back to his form that he was on in the last few seasons and get back to being the player that we know Mason Mount can be. But yeah, Chelsea fans, non-Chelsea fans, let me know your opinions on Mason Mount in the comment section below. Liverpool fans, Man City fans, Man United fans, would you take Mason Mount at your football club? And yeah, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, would be massively appreciated. And also if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would also be hugely appreciated as well. We are looking to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as we bloody well possibly can, so every single one of you that hits that subscribe button would be an absolute legend in getting me there as soon as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, and yeah, chat to you later.